What happens when one of Britain's most respected actresses walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a friendly chat and instead faces a blindside ambush that turns into television chaos? In just 46 seconds, a simple question about acting choices spiraled into the most explosive confrontation Loose Women has ever seen, ending with security being called and a legendary star storming off set while the entire panel sat in stunned silence. Helen Mirren arrived at the ITV studios that morning with her usual grace and poise. The dame had agreed to appear on Loose Women to discuss her latest theater project, a decision she would soon deeply regret. She settled into the guest chair, smoothing her elegant dress, completely unaware that Denise Welch had other plans for this interview. The panel that day included Denise as the lead anchor, alongside Kay Adams, Nadia Sawalha, and Janet Street Porter. The cameras rolled, the audience applauded warmly, and Helen smiled at what she assumed would be a pleasant conversation about her craft. Denise started softly. "Helen, lovely to have you here. Now, you've played queens, detectives, and everything in between. Tell us about your new play." Helen leaned forward, animated and enthusiastic. "Oh, it's a wonderful piece, actually. Very intimate, very raw. The kind of theater that reminds you why you fell in love with acting in the first place. We open next month at the National, and I couldn't be more excited about it." "That's lovely," Denise said, but her smile had already started to shift into something else. "But Helen, I have to ask, and I think our viewers at home are wondering this too. Don't you think you're a bit old to be playing romantic leads at this point?" The studio went quiet. You could feel the temperature drop. Kay Adams shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Nadia's eyes went wide. Janet looked at Denise with visible concern. Helen's smile remained fixed, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" "Well, I'm just saying," Denise continued, leaning back in her chair with an air of casual cruelty. "You're what, 79 now? 80? At some point, don't you think these romantic parts should go to actresses who are, actually in the prime of their romantic lives? It just seems a bit desperate, doesn't it?" The audience gasped. Nadia actually put her hand over her mouth. Kay tried to intervene. "Denise, I don't think that's really fair to." But Denise held up her hand, cutting Kay off mid-sentence. Her attention remained locked on Helen, who sat perfectly still, her posture rigid. "I'm not trying to be rude," Denise said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. There's a reason we don't see older actresses in these roles. It's just not believable anymore. And frankly, it's uncomfortable to watch someone your age trying to be sexy on stage." Helen took a slow, measured breath. When she spoke, her voice was steady but cold as ice. "Are you quite finished?" "I'm just asking honest questions," Denise replied, shrugging. "This is what we do here. We have real conversations that other shows are too afraid to have." "Real conversations?" Helen repeated slowly. "Is that what you call this? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels more like you've invited me here specifically to insult me on national television." Janet finally spoke up, her voice sharp. "Denise, this is out of order. Helen is our guest." But Denise waved her off too. "Oh, don't be so sensitive, Janet. Helen's a big girl. She can handle a few tough questions. Can't you, Helen?" "Tough questions?" Helen's voice rose slightly, the first crack in her composure. "You've just called me desperate, suggested I'm too old to work, and implied that I'm somehow offensive to look at. Those aren't tough questions. That's just you being needlessly cruel." The audience began murmuring their agreement. Someone shouted, "Leave her alone!" Denise's face flushed. "Now, hold on. I never said you were offensive to look at. Don't put words in my mouth. You said it was uncomfortable to watch me." Helen shot back. "What else could that possibly mean?" Kay jumped in again, trying to redirect. "Maybe we should talk about the play itself." "Helen, you mentioned it's at the National." No, let's finish this," Denise interrupted, her voice getting louder. "Since Helen wants to twist my words around, I was giving you a compliment, actually. I was saying that you've had a great career, but maybe it's time to step aside and let younger talent shine. That's not an insult, that's just reality." "A compliment?" Helen's laugh was bitter. "You have an interesting definition of compliment." Nadia finally found her voice. "Denise, seriously, stop. This isn't right." "Oh, now everyone's ganging up on me," Denise said, throwing her hands up. "Typical. I say one honest thing and suddenly I'm the villain." "One honest thing?" Helen stood up slightly from her chair, her microphone pack cord pulling taut. You've spent the last 5 minutes attacking my age, my appearance, my career choices, and my relevance. And now you're playing the victim? I'm not attacking you," Denise insisted, her voice taking on a whining quality. "I'm trying to have a real discussion about ageism in Hollywood, and you're being defensive." "Ageism?" Helen's voice cracked with disbelief. "You're lecturing me about ageism while simultaneously telling me I'm too old to work? Do you hear yourself?" The audience erupted in applause. Several people stood up, cheering for Helen. Denise's face went red. "Sit down, all of you, sit down. This is my show, and I'll ask whatever questions I want." "It's not your show, Denise," Janet said firmly, "and you're out of line." "Stay out of this, Janet," Denise snapped. Helen reached down and started removing her microphone pack. Her hands were shaking, whether from anger or hurt or both. It was impossible to tell. "What are you doing?" Denise demanded. "I'm leaving," Helen said quietly. "I was told this would be a friendly interview about my work. Instead, you've ambushed me with personal attacks disguised as questions. I don't need this. I don't need you. And I certainly don't need to sit here and be insulted by someone who clearly has her own issues with aging and relevance." "Oh, here we go." Denise stood up now too, her voice shrill. "The great Dame Helen Mirren can't handle a little criticism, so she runs away. How professional." "Criticism?" Helen's voice rose to match Denise's volume. "You called me desperate. You said I was uncomfortable to watch. You suggested I should retire. That's not criticism, that's a personal attack, and I will not sit here and take it." Kay stood up, positioning herself between them. "Okay, let's everyone just calm down and take a breath." "Don't tell me to calm down." Both Helen and Denise said simultaneously. The producer's voice could be heard off camera, shouting instructions. The audience was in complete chaos, some people filming on their phones, others shouting encouragement to Helen or criticism at Denise. "You know what your problem is?" Denise pointed her finger at Helen, ignoring Kay's attempts to push her hand down. "You think you're better than everyone else. You think that title makes you special. Well, newsflash, Dame Helen, you're just another actress past her prime who can't accept that her time is up." The studio went dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Helen stood completely still for a moment, her microphone pack now fully removed and dangling from her hand. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but every word cut like a knife. "My time is up. I've won an Oscar. I've won multiple BAFTAs. I've won a Tony. I've been acting for over 50 years, and I'm still getting offers for major roles in film, television, and theater. What exactly have you accomplished, Denise? Besides making a career out of being mean to people who are more successful than you?" Nadia actually gasped out loud. Janet covered her mouth, but you could see she was trying not to smile. Denise's face went from red to purple. "How dare you? I've had a very successful career in television and music." "Music?" Helen's eyebrow rose. "Oh yes, I remember now. You were in Coronation Street decades ago and had a brief pop career that no one remembers. And now you make a living sitting on this couch, tearing down people who are actually still working. How fulfilling that must be for you." "Get out!" Denise screamed. "Get out of my studio right now!" "It's not your studio," Janet muttered, but no one was really listening. "I'm already leaving," Helen said, gathering her bag. "I don't need you to tell me twice." "Good, and don't bother coming back," Denise yelled. "Oh, don't worry," Helen said, walking toward the edge of the stage. "Wild horses couldn't drag me back here. Although, I do feel sorry for your co-hosts who have to sit next to you every day and pretend your behavior is acceptable." Kay looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. Nadia was openly nodding in agreement. Janet just watched the whole thing unfold with a mixture of horror and fascination. Denise wasn't done. She followed Helen toward the stage steps. "You think you're so much better than us. You think you're too good for daytime television." Helen stopped and turned back, her voice calm again but icy. "I don't think I'm better than daytime television. I think I'm better than you. There's a difference." The audience exploded in cheers and applause. Someone shouted, "Yes, Helen." "That's it." "Security," Denise shouted. "Get her out of here. She's threatening me." Helen laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "Threatening you? I haven't laid a finger on you. I've simply responded to your attacks with honesty. If you can't handle that, perhaps you shouldn't start fights you can't. Finish." 2 security guards appeared from the wings, looking extremely uncomfortable. One of them approached Helen hesitantly. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to ask you to leave." Helen looked at him with such dignity that he actually took a step back. I am leaving. I was already leaving before your host decided to make even more of a scene than she already had. She's the one making a scene, Denise protested. She insulted me. She insulted my career. She told the truth, Janet interrupted, and you can't handle it. Denise spun on Janet. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm on the side of not attacking our guests, Janet replied coolly. Helen descended the stairs, the security guards following at a respectful distance. The cameras followed her every move. You could see the crew members looking at each other, unsure of what to do. Denise stood at the edge of the stage, still yelling. Don't think you can just walk out of here. We'll tell everyone what you did. We'll show this footage. Everyone will see how rude you were. Helen paused at the studio door and turned back one last time. The entire studio held its breath. Please do show the footage, she said clearly. Show everyone exactly how you treat your guests. Show them how you invited me here under false pretenses just to attack me. Show them how your own co-host tried to stop you and you wouldn't listen. Show them everything. I have nothing to hide. Can you say the same? With that, she walked out, the door closing behind her with a definitive click. The studio remained frozen for what felt like an eternity. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or stay quiet. The other panelists sat in their chairs, looking anywhere but at Denise. Finally, Kay spoke up, her voice strained. Well, that certainly wasn't what we had planned. This is all her fault, Denise said, but her voice had lost its aggressive edge. She sounded defensive now, almost whiny. She completely overreacted to a simple question. A simple question? Nadia shook her head. Denise, you told her she was too old to work and desperate. What did you think was going to happen? I was trying to have an honest conversation about ageism in the industry, Denise insisted. By being ageist? Janet's tone was scathing. That's like saying you want to fight racism by being racist. It doesn't work that way. You're all against me, Denise said, and to everyone's shock, her eyes started welling up with tears. I try to ask real questions, and everyone attacks me. Kay sighed heavily. Denise, no one's attacking you, but you have to admit that went too far. Helen Mirren is a respected actress and our guest. We invited her here. You can't just tear into people like that. I can ask whatever questions I want, Denise said stubbornly. Yes, you can, Janet agreed. But then you have to deal with the consequences. And the consequence today is that you drove away one of Britain's finest actresses and made us all look terrible in the process. The audience began murmuring again. You could hear people talking among themselves, discussing what they'd just witnessed. Some were getting up to leave. The energy in the studio had completely shifted from excitement to awkward discomfort. We need to go to commercial, the producer's voice called out. No, Denise said. We need to address this now. We need to tell our viewers that Helen Mirren walked out on us. And whose fault was that? Nadia interrupted. Be honest, Denise. For once, just be honest. Denise opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. I may have been a bit harsh. A bit? All three other panelists said in unison. Fine. I was harsh. But she didn't have to insult my career. Denise's voice rose again. You insulted her first, Kay pointed out. Several times. She was defending herself. And honestly, Janet added, she was right. What have you done lately besides sit here and judge other people? Denise looked genuinely hurt now. That's not fair. Neither was what you said to Helen, Janet replied. But it was true, wasn't it? That's why it stung so much. The producer's voice came through again, more urgent this time. Ladies, we really need to go to commercial. Now, going to commercial won't make this go away, Nadia said quietly. This is going to be everywhere by tonight. She was right, of course. Already, audience members were typing on their phones, uploading videos, sharing what they'd seen. Denise slumped back in her chair, the fight finally seeming to drain out of her. I didn't mean for it to go that way. Then what did you mean? Kay asked, not unkindly. What were you hoping would happen? Denise was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I thought it would be interesting television. Provocative. Something people would talk about. Oh, they'll talk about it all right, Janet said dryly. Just not in the way you wanted. The stage manager was frantically signaling from the side. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of the aftermath. I should apologize, Denise said suddenly. Yes, you should. All three women agreed. But she's already gone, Denise continued. She won't answer my calls. Her people will never let me near her again. Can you blame them? Nadia asked. Denise shook her head slowly. No, I can't. The audience had mostly quieted down now, watching the panel with a mixture of curiosity and judgment. The warm, friendly atmosphere that usually characterized loose women had completely evaporated, replaced by tension and disappointment. What do we do now? Denise asked, looking at her co-hosts. Kay took a deep breath. Now, we acknowledge what happened, we apologize to our viewers for the uncomfortable scene they just witnessed, and we move on as best we can. But Denise, you need to really think about what happened here today. This wasn't just bad television. This was unkind, and we're supposed to be better than that. I know, Denise said quietly. Do you? Janet challenged. Because this isn't the first time you've gone after a guest. Remember what happened with... I know, Denise said more forcefully. I get it, okay? I messed up. I messed up badly. Are you all happy now? This isn't about us being happy, Nadia said gently. This is about you recognizing that your words have consequences. Helen Mirren didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. The producer's voice cut through one more time. We're going to commercial in 10 seconds, whether you're ready or not. Kay straightened up, smoothing her hair and trying to compose herself. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about something else. Something lighter. If anyone's still watching, Janet muttered. The stage manager began counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're out, the producer announced, the moment the cameras stopped. Rolling, Denise stood up and walked off the set without another word to anyone. Her co-host watched her go, exchanging worried glances. That was a disaster, Kay said, stating the obvious. The worst I've ever seen, Nadia agreed. Janet pulled out her phone. It's already trending, multiple hashtags, and none of them are flattering to Denise. What are people saying? Nadia asked. Janet scrolled through her screen. That Helen Mirren is a queen and Denise is, well, various unflattering things I won't repeat. Helen handled herself beautifully, though, Kay said. Even in the face of all that hostility, she never lost her composure. Not really. She just stood up for herself. That's the difference between a real star and a television personality, Janet observed. Grace under pressure. Nadia nodded. Did you see how calm she stayed? Even when Denise was practically screaming at her, Helen barely raised her voice. She just cut her down with words. And those cuts went deep, Kay said. I actually felt bad for Denise at some points. Helen absolutely destroyed her. Denise deserved it, Janet said firmly. You can't attack someone like that and expect them to just sit there and take it. Helen's a dame of the British Empire. She's earned her respect. And Denise treated her like she was nobody. The makeup artist approached, looking nervous. Ladies, you have 3 minutes until you're back on. The three women looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. What do we say? Nadia asked. The truth, Kay decided. We tell the viewers that things got heated. We apologize for the uncomfortable nature of what they saw, and we acknowledge that our guest left because she felt disrespected. We don't throw Denise under the bus, but we don't pretend it was okay either. Should we mention where Denise went? Janet asked. She's probably in her dressing room crying, Nadia said, not without sympathy. Or calling her agent to do. Damage control, Janet added. The stage manager called out, 2 minutes. Kay pulled out her compact, checking her makeup. Whatever happens next, this is going to be talked about for years. The day Helen Mirren walked off Loose Women. And the day Denise Welch revealed her true colors, Janet finished. She's not all bad, Nadia said quietly. She just gets caught up in trying to make good television and forgets there are real people with real feelings involved. That's generous of you, Kay said. I'm trying to be fair, Nadia replied. But yes, what she did today was inexcusable. 1 minute, the stage manager announced. The three women took their positions back on the couch. Denise's empty chair sat between Kay and Nadia, a glaring reminder of the chaos that had just unfolded. Do we address the empty chair? Nadia whispered. We have to, Kay whispered back. Otherwise, it's the elephant in the room. 30 seconds. Janet cleared her throat. Remember, grace and professionalism. That's what we need right now. What Helen showed us, Nadia added quietly. 10 seconds. The three women straightened, fixed their expressions, and prepared to face the cameras and the audience once more. Whatever they said in the next few minutes would be picked apart and analyzed by millions of people, the floor manager pointed. They were live again. But that moment, those final seconds before they had to explain the unexplainable, defend the indefensible, and carry on with a show that had just imploded spectacularly, that silence was the loudest sound in the studio. The empty chair said everything that needed to be said. Helen Mirren was gone. And with her, she'd taken the dignity, the professionalism, and the respect that Loose Women had spent years building. All because one host forgot the most basic rule of television: treat your guests the way you'd want to be treated yourself. The audience sat waiting, the cameras rolled, and somewhere in the building, Helen Mirren was probably already in a car, heading away from the studio, away from the chaos, away from Denise Welch and her cruel questions. She'd walked in as a guest and walked out as a legend, having delivered the most devastating takedown in daytime television history. All in just 46 seconds of questions, accusations, and truth-telling that no one involved would ever forget.